said I wasn't going to do it, and I did it anyway. Well, it ended up happening. I ended up seeing Batman vs. Superman. I didn't intend to, and I had heard that there was a extended director's cut of it that was better, that made more sense, that drew everything together a bit better. There was a better version, longer, unfortunately, but better. I didn't end up seeing that. I saw essentially the theatrical release on DVD. And I'm going to talk about it because I need to talk about this one. There's a lot going on in this film, and it needs some discussion. It needs some discussion from me. I would like to discuss it. Nothing needs a discussion from me, but let's get into this. Okay. Batman v Superman. Let's get right out of the gate and say that I've seen a lot of reviews of it. A lot of my opinions about the movie were from other people. And other people said this, that, and that. I saw a whole bunch of clips from it to the point where I knew exactly what was going to happen in the whole movie. Like, I didn't need to see it. I already knew what was going to happen, how things played together, what the ending was. I knew all that stuff before I ever saw it. So, and hearing what other people thought about it, I'm like, oh, I don't need to see this. Saw it anyway. Some people thought it was just absolutely terrible. A couple of people had more positive things to say about it. I'll say this. I don't think it was terrible as such, but I'm hesitant to even say it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. I need to explain why, and this is why I have to do like a compulsory review on it. I need to talk about it because this is complicated. I can't just say good, bad, C minus, D, A, B, whatever. I can't give it a letter grade. I can't just say it wasn't bad or it wasn't good or mediocre. It wasn't mediocre, it wasn't good, and it wasn't terrible. So that's why I have to discuss this. And also, one thing, I didn't want to see it, because the only reason I'd see it is to give some sort of discussion on it or review. And what on earth am I going to say about this movie that dozens of people haven't said already? Well, let's see. Let's see. Okay. Here's the thing. Also, this may be spoiler-filled or not. I don't know at this point. God, I don't know. I would say if there's a longer director's cut of this film, see that instead. So if you're watching this video, and very few people have been watching these videos, and that's fine, and you're wondering, should I or should I not see this, which I think is unlikely. I think you've already seen it or already decided not to. I would say no. I'll just right out of the gate say, don't go see it. I need to start discussing why, because it's just complicated. Here's the thing. This movie's real pretty. It's actually really pretty. Someone else, I forget his name now, god damn it. Someone else put it better than I ever will. He divided the film, I think he called them scenes and moments, and it's a perfect way to describe this. That a movie has any second or whatever you're watching on the screen could be divided into essentially two categories. Iconic frames, where like a picture or an animated GIF where you have this sort of thing happening and it looks dramatic. It can be described very shortly. Perhaps the scene where Batman is about to kill Superman. He's got the kryptonite spear over his head, and he's going to kill him, and his own armor is kind of beaten up because, for Christ's sake, he's been fighting Superman. Or the Doomsday monster has just leveled something, is about to kill them, or this building is blowing up, or Superman is rescuing this crashed rocket pod with people in it, or he's rescuing someone or he's coming down, descending from heaven. As an aside, I swear to God, I think Zack Snyder is secretly trying to create a brand new religion based around Superman. I can't think of. I can't explain this otherwise. It doesn't. Nothing else makes sense. So, Zack Snyder is trying to create a new religion around Superman for reasons that aren't clear to me. I don't know why. Anyway, so you have these kind of visually stunning moments. They usually have a swell of incredible music associated with them, or occasionally they'll have a single line of dialogue where it's, no, this is the sort of thing that turns good men cruel, if you've seen the trailer, that sort of thing. Where it's not a storytelling element, it's a dramatic expression of a particular, uh, not even a full scene. It's just a sort of like a picture frame. And alternately, the opposite of that, the other part of a visual medium like a movie, you have actual scenes. You have complex discussions. You have someone describing the background. You have someone having like in a Kevin Smith film, like a boring, stupid conversation about how does the Hulk have sex, or like picking up women, or whatever. These sort of, even if they don't forward the plot, they describe the characters. They make them seem more real or more grounded, or they tell you something about the way the world is, or it was, or something. They help paint a picture of the world that you're witnessing and move it forward. The first thing, like framing elements, iconic framing elements, make the movie memorable. They create this brief picture in your head, or like or a cool phrase, where it nails home what's cool about this or memorable about this. The other thing actually tells the story. The actual story. I don't know what else to call it. It's story. It's dialogue, or even it might not have any dialogue at all. Just someone walking around an office, and you sort of see the way the office works, and you're like, oh, this is a shitty office, or wow, this is really interesting, or they're getting a lot done, or something like that. It tells you about the world. Perhaps with narrative elements, perhaps not. Coen brothers, good example, are very good at non-dialogue story elements, where they describe the world, the description. So you have these two components to any movie. A boring movie won't have any of the first one. They have nothing memorable to them, or the iconic framing elements just are, or you don't care about them. It's like, oh, who cares? Whereas a memorable film will perhaps have quite a few of them. The movie 2001, perfect, Space Odyssey, has a bunch of those. It has the scene where the obelisk, where the proto-humans are like fighting, and then suddenly, oh, I could use this bone as a weapon. Now I'm going to be more powerful than all the other poo-flinging monkey guys. Or, Hal has locked David Bowman out of the pod bay doors, or you have an opening. I mean, it's just like, it's that picture, that it's like a picture, only sometimes there's a few things happening. Here's the thing: why am I going through this whole spiel about Batman and Batman versus Superman, though? About framing elements versus story elements. That's what I'm going to call these. Other people have used different terminology for this. Why am I using these at all in relation to this movie? Well, here's why. This film is nothing but the former and absolutely none of the latter. And if that sounds strange, it is strange. It is really strange. Like, I started going through this, and I'd remembered that discussion. Like I did a really good, I forget who. The name is eluding me, and I'm not too lazy to look it up. But he mentioned the difference between scenes and moments, and it just struck me this whole like watching this movie. It's like, wait a minute, I haven't heard an actual normal conversation yet. No one's had a normal like, hey, we are human beings, not polished bronze statues. Let's have a normal human conversation to convince you, the audience, that we are people and not just actors. There are none. There are none. We went through this entire movie, and like I said, other people have mentioned this. This movie is like 2.5 hours long, and it feels empty. And I'm just going through this movie as I'm watching it, going, this scene wasn't necessary. One of the many dream sequences. Another excellent example. We have entire dream sequences where there is not a freaking word of dialogue. And the dialogue is when there is dialogue, it's always the sort of what is it to be a superhero? What is it to be a man? What is it? Does the world need a Superman? There is a Superman, so we can't do anything about that. The devil doesn't come from hell, but from heaven above, not actual words that would come out of a human being's mouth, but something you'd put in a trailer. Every image you could. This is and it's so weird, and I'm getting worked up about it. You could take randomly any 30 seconds of this movie and it would fit in a trailer. They're all trailer moments. They're all sort of, this is the sort of thing that's happening in this movie, not actually things that tell you about the thing that's happening in this movie. I was watching the special features. There's 2 hours of special features in this freaking thing. And once again, to go back at just a step, I don't think this was terrible. If there had been actual dialogue, actual scene, setting up any scene whatsoever, if any character had been properly set up, this would have been a great movie. Not a good movie, a great movie. Because combine even a halfway decent story with the visuals, the amazing visuals, this would have been a great movie. It would have been a great movie. At least a B+. The way most people grade movies, like on a letter scale. At least a B+. If it had actual... And it was a story a lot of people wanted to see. Full disclosure. In the DC comics, I'm a Vertigo guy. Those were my favorite comics. I mean, right now you're watching a video of a guy who, in the floor above me, there are long boxes. I have at least 9 of the long comic book boxes. And it's weird shit. It's weird independent stuff. It's a lot of stuff for off-brand publishers that don't exist or existed for like a year. It's the entire run of the Transformers comics when I was younger. And it's kind of later too. It's a lot of Vertigo. Vertigo takes up at least 2 or 3 long boxes. So that's where I am. As far as Superman, Batman goes, as far as Superman goes, I have no skin in the game. I do not care about Superman. I have not cared about Superman since I was a kid and saw the Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, oh my god, a superhero movie. And it's Christopher Reeve, and he's all Superman-y. Amazing. Very cool. I don't care about this Superman. And, what was it, Superman Returns or whatever, with, I forget the actor's name. Regardless, I actually liked him. I thought he was a fine actor. This new guy, Henry Cavill, I guess he's fine. I mean, he's a fine actor. He's not as enthusiastic the way Ben Affleck, for example, seems very enthusiastic about this. Like he's talking about how these characters are so grounded, and I'm sitting there going, Ben Affleck, I really admire your enthusiasm, but are you nuts? This is DC. Your characters are nuts. They have all of the problems of power creep with none of the disadvantages of being nerfed through none of the advantages. Let me say that. Advantages of being nerfed through reboots the way the Marvel characters were. I mean, Iron Man, Captain America, characters like that can be relatively, Iron Man less so, but Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, ooh, moving on to the TV shows, Daredevil, Punisher, who else? Mockingbird. A lot of these characters don't have superpowers. They're just highly skilled. The power isn't. It sounds like a kid show. The power is inside of them, and it is. They're creative. They're portrayed as creative, highly skilled, highly motivated people, ordinary people who just have very unusual talents. Which is why Batman is cool and why Batman was the first DC character to really take off like wildfire. I think Joss Whedon the one who said, "Oh, I wanted to do a Batman film. He's the most Marvel-like character in the DC universe." And he is. Once again, I like Ben Affleck's enthusiasm. That'll serve him well when he's now like executive producer or whatever for all the DC movies, the DC cinematic universe. That will serve him well. But that these characters are grounded, are you nuts? They're not grounded at all. That's the problem. They were super powerful, uncomfortably too powerful when they were first in the comics forever ago. And then as time progressed, they just got more and more powerful. And none of these movies seem to be interested in making a scaled down version of these characters, a more reasonable version of these characters. They want it both ways. They want a realistic Superman without realistic power limitations. And I have heard to death from fucking writers on Cracked, Soren Bowie, Max Landis, many others that no, if you're thinking about nerfing Superman like that, you just don't understand Superman. Perhaps, and they have fine arguments about what makes Superman cool to them anyway. Those are fine arguments. But that's not what's being portrayed in any of these movies. What's being portrayed as Superman isn't being portrayed as someone, thoughtful or beyond corruption or anything like that. He's just being portrayed as someone who's really powerful. Period. So we have lightning orc monsters and other guys with the same superpowers, and it's just going to be a parade of all this nonsense because Superman is too super. I mean, in the original Superman comic, he had limitations. He couldn't fly, for example. He could leap tall buildings in a single bound. He could jump like a quarter mile or whatever, which makes more sense. Everything about him made more sense. He wasn't really as indestructible or as super fast. He could do stuff, but he couldn't do everything. And the problem is you write yourself into a corner, because if you have a character whose power is he's super powerful, he's super strong, indestructible, and so on, you have to portray that, which is to say you have to have a story that includes that, which is you have to test his limits, which is to say, if he's already virtually limitless in power, you have to have absolutely ridiculous challenges for him, which makes continuity a lot harder. In the Captain America Winter Soldier, one of my favorite films, the Captain America is fighting the United States government. He's fighting S.H.I.E.L.D. He's fighting the police. And it's believable. While he is a super soldier, beyond the pinnacle of human capacity, but just beyond it. He is very agile. He is very, very fast. Perhaps impossibly so, but not so impossibly so that you can't arrest him, or you couldn't have a reasonable chance. He's on the run because he doesn't want to get caught or killed. And he nearly is. Put Superman in that movie, and the movie becomes super boring. Because it's like, oh, people are shooting at me. Pfft, what the fuck do I care? I'm Superman. Oh, I have to get someplace. Well, I can get there super fast and I can fly. I'm not just super fast, I have the ability to fly. I have both of those powers. It's the Justice League problem. No, pardon me, it's the Super Friends problem. I've heard it called the Super Friends problem, where it's like, the way it was portrayed in the Super Friends cartoon, Superman just had everyone else's power. Why do we need someone like Hawkman, whose power is he can fly, when we have Superman, who can also fly? We actually have other people who can fly too. We have the Flash, who can go super fast, but Superman can go super fast. So the Flash is the Superman minus all super strength, flight, and the rest. Like, everyone's a puny version of Superman. I like in Justice League the previews I've seen for it, the upcoming movie, where there is no Superman. Spoilers, Superman gets killed in this movie, but he's not dead. Pfft. I mean, it's... So let's... God, I've gone into the flaws of the filmmaking. Gone into the flaws of the premise of Superman. Let's go more into the flaws, the story flaws. Let's go into that. I think that... Okay. Let's go into this a bit. Story flaws. Here's a problem. Here's a couple problems. Superman, in the end of this film, and not to pick out... I don't want to nitpick. That's pointless. I'm just using this as an example because the movie's filled with shit like this. Where, in the end, Superman dies. More to the point, Superman risks his life with Batman and Wonder Woman. And when he dies, it's super sad, or so we're told. It's not at all sad. I don't understand. I mean, literally less than 10 minutes before Superman... it was less than an hour. So it was like half an hour or something like that. Half an hour before Superman dies, Batman was trying to murder him. Not kill him, full-on fucking murder him by any means. Oh, but now I feel bad for... Now we have shared this bond half an hour, so half an hour later I'm super sad that you're gone. When Superman died in the comics at the hand of Doomsday, Superman had been in existence for decades. So of course it was sad in the comics, because the death of Superman's a big deal. This character had been around forever. People who'd read the comics had known him forever. The other characters had known this character forever. For decades. In the movie, they knew each other for a few minutes. Like, they worked together for a fight that, in all fairness, was 10 minutes long. But it's like, it's the wrong way to do it. You build up to having a character be well liked, and you show how much these other characters care about them. Then the axe drops. Zack Snyder could learn a lot from George R.R. Martin. When the big G kills someone, you feel it. It's like by that point you've been, either the book or the TV show, you've been watching a character for years. You've watched them grow and develop. When they finally get horribly killed, it's like, holy fucking shit. I mean, the Red Wedding was devastating to people for a reason. And for that matter, the flip side to that, the Purple Wedding, or whatever people were calling it, was such a joyous occasion because we'd had to put up with that character for much too long. So there's that build-up. In this movie, there's no build-up. The build-up's 10 minutes long. There's an emotional attachment of less than a quarter of an hour. Oh, so this guy we have never met before today, and in the case of Wonder Woman, I just met the guy in this fight, in the middle of this fight. I showed up halfway through this fucking fight to help you with it. This is me meeting Superman. Now I feel really bad that he's dead, because, someone I've met for 10 minutes, most of which I spent fighting a giant orc monster. It's not like she's gotten to know his dreams and aspirations. She's seen that he can punch shit really hard. So, it's not even, you can disagree about other stuff. Like I said, Max Landis is a good example. I keep bringing him up, not to pick on him at all. I think his discussions are pretty interesting. I disagree with him, but he has interesting, well laid out points. Discussion-wise, he's fascinating to read. I recommend subscribing to his channel. It's a cool read. Anyway, my point is, this movie's filled with this, where it misfires, where this is supposed to have this emotional impact, and it doesn't because it wasn't set up properly. And it wasn't set up properly due to my original point, is there's no story element. There are no constructive story elements, just iconic framing elements. And I think some things fall between those two. So, divide this movie into iconic framing elements and constructive story elements. Like I said, dialogue or long establishing shots. There are no establishing shots in this movie. How weird is that? And the fucking movie is 2.5 hours long. It's not like they lack time to do it in. So, god damn. So, what I'm saying is this film felt like kind of a waste. Like, you had all this budget, and you had all of this built up, and you had everything together, and you were able to get these two characters on screen for the first time, and like I said, the special features, they go off on a tear about how amazing all these characters are, and how great it is to have them on screen, and how emotional this was for the actors and everyone on the set, and you did all this, and you fucked it up. You fucked it up because you have no dialogue. Nothing is established. The iconic framing moments frame nothing. They're just pretty pictures. With no build-up, no dialogue to make any of these characters real, with no establishment to make the world they live in feel real. I couldn't tell you what the Batcave is like, what Lex Luthor's home is like, what the Daily Planet, what is that place like? What is it like? What are any of these places like? Well, they're really nice sets. They look very pretty. That's all I can say about them. There's no tone. There's no tone to anything. No, it's toneless for most of this film. I just don't know what to do about it. Like, I'm getting worked up over this film that I really just don't care that much about. And that's kind of the problem. I should. For what they were able to do, I should care about this movie, and I don't. And I don't care because no one was set up properly. Now, I will disagree with this point. As far as Justice League, let's just stick to Justice League. The very first video I ever did was Suicide Squad, so I'm not even going to discuss that. for Justice League, someone was saying, just because, I mean, I'm just discussing things other people have said about these, because, like I said, other people have said everything there is to say about this. One comment was that while the tone seems lighter, that is, we shouldn't take that as necessarily, we shouldn't be optimistic about it, because that's not the problem with this movie. With the Batman v Superman movie, it's not that the tone was too grim or something like that, it's that it lacked story elements. I'd say it is something to be more optimistic about because someone is paying attention to the tone, as opposed to Batman v Superman, where the tone is, what is the tone? What is the fucking tone of this film? Just, I mean, am I supposed to be in gap-jawed awe for 2.5 hours about how amazing these characters are and how sad it is that Superman had to die? And I'd argue, you know, as opposed to Justice League, where there's from the trailer, there's a scene where Batman is vis-a-vis Bruce Wayne is like, Flash, I want you to join the Justice League sort of setting, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, you don't need to tell me more, I'm in. I want to help, and I need friends. That little scene is a scene. I mean, it's not an iconic framing element, although it does possess it does possess one. The Batman throwing the Batarang at him to demonstrate that he is the Flash. To God, you're right. It's aimed right at his head. It does have that iconic framing moment, but the rest of that little scene is a proper scene. He has an actual discussion with the Flash, and going forward, he's trying to convince these other people to do it, which is to say, he has to have an actual chat. Each of these characters has to be a character to demonstrate why they do or don't join up with the Justice League. We have to have a discussion, and those types of conversations are completely missing from the Batman v Superman movie. Really, that gets into my final pet peeve about this film, about the Batman v Superman movie, is that other people have said this, so I'm going to say it too. The story makes no goddamn sense. I mean, you can sort of read between the lines and make it sort of make sense with something you would like there to happen, but nothing's explicitly said and nothing's really strongly implied. I still couldn't tell you what the fuck Lex Luthor's plan was. He didn't like characters. Too much of it was he's crazy. He's a crazy person doing crazy things. Oh, let's just hit on this a little bit. The story makes no sense. Well, sense could be derived from it. If you make some assumptions, you can sort of, this sort of does make sort of kind of sense if this sort of thing is true. Like his plan, someone was saying, well, he hated Superman. It's like, well, then why did he have Superman kill Batman? Or why did he try to? Too much didn't make sense. Nothing, like I said, nothing was established. If we'd actually had a discussion of it, or why Superman hated Batman and vice versa. Batman's motivations are set up better than anyone else's, and even then I think they're a little off kilter. We needed to, once again, establish some shit. We don't have okay. We don't have enough of why is Batman like Batman. It's hinted that this is not that this is an older Batman who's been Batman for 20 years. That perhaps he's become grimmer and grittier and much more willing to kill people and use guns and things that Batman in the past has been described as not wanting to do. Like maybe he wasn't that. And making a new kind of Batman is fine, but you have to explain why. And having it make any damn sense at all, the whole Martha thing, that has to be the case. Like, he used to be a more peaceful Batman. Like, he's still scary, he's still very tactical, but he didn't used to be this violent, this willing to kill. So, if you're implying that he didn't used to be, and you're implying that he is now because of some stuff, you need to tell us what that fucking stuff is. Or more strongly imply that there is that stuff, because that's kind of up in the air. I mean, I'm kind of reaching for strings or anything I can get my hands on, trying to figure out what the motivations for these guys are. I mean, that would have been fine. And to my ears, that criticism of mine sounds a little nitpicky, but understand, we didn't establish properly why Batman is the way Batman is in a 2.5 fucking hour movie. I mean, fuck. Any of the X-Men movies, even the ones that aren't very good, at least establish why characters are the way they are. And there are dozens of characters. This is Batman versus Superman. You've got Batman, you've got Superman. We're in a rush for what? And there's another way to go. Like, maybe you could have just left all that out the way it is, where nothing's fucking explained, and just made a shorter freaking movie. Maybe. I'm getting way too worked up for this thing. My point is, nothing was explained or nothing was established properly. There are no proper scenes of dialogue, and that makes this film annoying. So, from here, let's go into my normal review thing, because I've already gotten into the thing I wanted to get into. Let's get into the review and just finish this damn thing. Put it to bed. The thing I usually do is, what are the odds you'll see this and not like it? Well, I think they're pretty freaking good, considering it's polarizing. Here's the thing. Some people just wanted to see these two characters on the screen. They wanted them to have a bunch of iconic framing elements, where we want to see Superman being Superman, we want to see Batman being Batman. In a film with no proper dialogue, no proper character development, no proper motivational development, it's just those. That's the thing you want. You just want to see you want to see a bunch of fight scenes. You just want to see a bunch of scenes with Superman rescuing people, with no description of why he's rescuing people. Like, you already have in your mind, like, you've already decided what the motivations and so on for this. Fuck what this movie has to say, because it doesn't say a damn thing. Then yeah, this will be fine. You'll be perfectly happy, because they're very pretty. They're very nice to look at. You see Superman being Superman. Don't know why. I mean, repeatedly, his farm boy upbringing, where they're like, you have to be a good person, isn't there. It was right in the trailer for this film. Like, you don't know those, Martha Kent to Clark Kent. You don't know those people a damn thing. Okay. Okay. Or there's a scene where it's like, where he says, where he's talking to his dead dad again, his other dead dad. Because death is no barrier in any of these fucking films. Where he's like, he says, I think to Lois Lane, like, no, I'm just being good because that's what my dad wanted. And I'm like, he did? Didn't in the last movie your dad, like, tell you not to rescue a busload of children? Didn't your dad, like do the whole, no, you could rescue me and save my life, but no, let's not do that. Like, his dad never wanted him to use his powers, wanted him to be a perfectly normal person. So, that's a thing. So there's like, so he has this line where he's like, I'm just doing this because a farmer from Kansas wanted me to do this. And I'm like, that's a cool setup. That would be a cool setup. That has not been set up in this movie, wasn't set up in the previous film. Nothing in dialogue we've seen anywhere has implied any of that. And indeed, there's a scene where Kevin Costner reappears as dead dad Superman, dead Pa Kent. And he's like, yeah, one time I saved a bunch of people by working really hard, and they gave me a congratulations cake. But me saving people caused a bunch of horses on another farm to drown. So helping people always causes disasters, and I should feel bad about helping people. And maybe you should feel bad about helping people too. And I'm like, that's a great fucking lesson. What I'm saying is I think the Kents are assholes, is what my takeaway from this. Superman is... People love him and portray him as heroic, and I don't know why. For that matter, I don't know why he's even pretending to be heroic. He isn't. He doesn't, honestly... I don't see why he gives a shit. I don't see him really giving a shit. Like, he looks somewhere between... It's supposed to look dramatic, but he looks... When he's saving people, he looks more bored. Like, he's not like... I'm so happy. Oh, thank God I was able to get here in time and saved you. I'm happy to have saved you. It's this dull, like he's shell shocked or has post-traumatic stress disorder or something like that. He looks somewhere between, like, utterly divided from all mankind. Like he's a robot, like with no emotions. He looks somewhere between that and bored. Like, saving more people. Here, I'm gonna haul a giant ship to shore. Fuck this shit. You know, I mean, I'm projecting the bored thing because there was no emotion. There was nothing there. There was just, he was a blank. He's just a robot. Might as well have a robot saving us. Be less hullabaloo. He's so powerful he has no limitations, but he has no limitations and he has no concern. I don't get it. They want him to have been a certain way, and they spent no time setting him up that way. They want him to be heroic, but they did spend no time. What are the odds you'll see this and not like this? Well, clearly I got hit in this mark, so pretty good. I'd say 2/3. 2/3, 2 out of 3. I think a third of the people who see this will just ignore the fact that it has no proper setup. That's my take. I think, like I said, I think if you already have your preconceived notions about what Superman is and what his motivations are, then you can go into this and go, I don't need you to tell me what those things are, because you don't. Nothing contradicts anything you come to this movie with. I mean, if you already know in your head why Superman is doing stuff or why Batman is doing stuff, nothing here is going to contradict that, because there's nothing here, story-wise. There are no narrative creative elements whatsoever. Anything we're shown is stupid, pointless, or just doesn't make any goddamn sense. So 2/3. I think there's a 2 out of 3 chance you'll see this and not like it, because it annoyed the fuck out of me, and I liked it, kinda, sorta. Like, I could see what was good about it, and it still pissed me off because of that. Because it's like, you could have made a better film easily. Shame on you. Like, you had this much money, you couldn't hire some decent writers or pay attention to your writers. Shame on you. You could have done so much better. Would I see this movie again? Fuck no. Oh, this movie is so boring. This movie is boring. For all the crazy crap that happens in this film, it is really boring. I don't want to watch this again. And I mentioned before, I kind of want to see the director's cut of this film, the extended edition, but it's already 2.5 hours long. God damn it. It has some nice iconic framing elements. That's what I'm going to call them. So an IFM, IFM, I don't know. I don't want to see this again. I think there's a good chance you'll see it and not like it, so don't go see it. Justice League looks better simply because... Like, it might be better simply because they paid attention to things that weren't in it. Maybe they've learned from their mistakes. I don't know. We'll find it. keep saying that a lot. Like, Man of Steel. Well, maybe they'll learn from their mistakes. Suicide Squad. Maybe they'll... fuck. So, Justice League, right? Am I right? Maybe this will be the one. We're saying that far too often, like, like these DC movies. Maybe this will be the one that'll be good. I don't know. Like I said, there's some cool stuff in it, but it's missing half the movie, an important half. You can't lift a piano with one hand. Anyway, that's me. I'm so out.